Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of the Sajin Photography Podcast. My name is Jason Teal, and today we are going to do something that I've been putting off for a little while, but we are going to dip into the first episode of the Gear Talk. And that is sort of something that I've been sort of putting off, mostly because I'm just not one of those guys who really cares a lot about the gear. Like I do. Like, I mean, I have a camera and I've got a tripod, but I'm not one of those people who insanely lusts after the latest and greatest gear because they think that that will make them the next National Geographic staff photographer. I couldn't really give a shit because here's the thing, like when we talk about gear, I'm going to recommend stuff that I call like tried and true. And by that, I mean, it's stuff that you buy, you use it, it's bulletproof, and it will help you actually make better images if you learn how to use it properly. And we're starting this off with filters because I think those are the ones that it's one of these things where when you get into photography, it's probably the last thing you're going to buy. And that sounds strange, but you know, you buy the camera, you get a tripod, you put everything in the backpack, and then you see this like nice long exposure or this shot with these really crisp blue skies, and you wonder like, geez, man, like how do I get that shot? I've been trying all this other stuff, Photoshop maybe, and someone says, well, no, I've been using a neutral density 10 stop filter or something, and you're like, oh my god, like that's the next thing, and you search online and they're freaking expensive. And that's why I say it's probably like the last thing, because you look at it as like, can I really use this? Could I buy another lens? Blah blah blah. But we're starting things off with filters because that, well, for lack of a better term, that is the last piece of equipment I bought recently because I'm broke as shit. And also it was my birthday a few months ago, so I splurged on getting a new filter system. Now, let me emphasize, I'm not getting paid for this recommendation, but when I do these gear podcasts in the future, I'm not looking to basically become a snake oil salesman and pitch you garbage that you absolutely don't need. What I want to do is focus on equipment that you can get here in Korea and stuff that actually works. So when we talk about lenses or anything like that, I'm not getting anything from it. Like, and honestly, as a side note, if that really concerns you, you've got better things to really worry about. If you're worried about a broke-ass photographer getting a kickback from an affiliate link, I don't get it. But again, I don't get anything from any of these recommendations, and I probably don't have enough listening people, followers, I guess you could call them, to actually warrant going after that big sale. The 5 people that listen to this podcast aren't really going to go out and all buy a filter set from the affiliate link that I'm associated with. So put that out of your head and just focus on what I'm recommending here. And the first one is the K&F Concept Square System Pro filter set. Now, the reason I'm recommending this is because I love something that has a good build quality, something that when you pull it out of the box, it just feels well designed and well built. And this product is one of those things. And I've used the other cheaper plasticky ones in the past, and I pretty much used them once and turfed them into a box somewhere because they just don't work properly. They're plasticky, everything scratches, and it's just not worth your time. On the other hand, you could go big. You could get some Nisi filters, some B&W ones, but you're also going to pay through the frickin' teeth for these filters. And I'm going to say that now, I've used them a couple of times, but I really haven't noticed a difference. However, I know that there's a lot of people who just love Nisi filters or any other high-end filter company, and they're going to say that the optics, it's sharper, there's no color cast or whatever. But I haven't noticed any differences with the K&F Concepts filter sets that I picked up. There are the cheaper ones that will have that, and that's what I want to put out there. If you're thinking I'm recommending to buy any old filter set that's under $50, no, in some cases you get what you pay for. However, here I was really impressed because the K&F Concept filters, you see them all over Amazon and other places, and they are what I would call a budget manufacturer. They're not high end, but they're also not low end. They're kind of in the middle, but they're not really like one of those boutique brands out there. Like if you're looking at tripods, they're not like a three-legged thing. They're sort of in the middle bracket. They're not terribly poor quality, but they're a place where you can get a $500 looking tripod for about $200. That's sort of where they are. But with that being said, when I ordered this filter set, what caught my eye first is the design. And by that, I mean that I love the wine country filter setup where you could slide in your polarizing filter, adjust it with a flywheel, and then put your 10-stop ND filter over top. That's what I was looking at. I just didn't have the $500, $600, or $700 to throw on a set of filters that I use probably, once or twice a week or a month or something like that, where I could probably put that to better use getting a all-around good lens. So when I was thinking about picking up something for my birthday, I saw these ads for K&F Concepts, their new filters that came out, I think just this year. I think I remember like I looked at it around Christmas time, pulled the trigger and said, oh yeah, this is for my birthday, which isn't until March, haha. But I didn't actually get them until March. So I ordered them, and I guess they were still developing or shipping. That didn't come until February. And then shortly after that, I got them. So immediately I was impressed with the design, as I said before. And I'm going to share some pictures. I'm going to link probably to a blog that I'll be putting out roughly around the similar time as this podcast goes live, so you can see this whole setup. But again, what I liked about this setup was that polarizer that comes, or is an option you can get probably with or without, if I'm certain about this, but you get that polarizer in there so you can adjust while the whole thing is on the end of your lens. And I really like that. I also liked how the polarizer actually slides into the mount, which is kind of a cool design. You've got this swing arm that comes up. The only finicky part I find really with that setup is that you have to have the polarizer set up in a certain direction. And it's sort of one of these things where when you look at the instructions as I am here, there's this tiny little graphic, like I'm talking about the size of a quarter here, that says that the gears are facing outside and the lip is facing towards the photographer. That could be done a little bit clearly, because every single time I pull the polarizer out, I'm sort of like, okay, which direction is this going? I'm always confused. So like whether it could be like a little paint around the edge to say like, oh, okay, that goes towards me, or like a little painted arrow, something to give me a heads up so I'm not like putting it in, flipping it around, trying it again, things like that. Because I will say that like with this design, it's great. Everything is so well machined. Everything clicks into place. I just don't want to force that lens in the wrong way and end up bending or breaking something, because it is all like metal. That's also what I love about it. So there is that, tendency, if you force something, it could bend. I just don't want that. Now, the other thing I like about these filters is they have a housing built around the actual ND filter. And that's what I love, because they've added in like a little tab on the top and bottom so that you're not tempted to put your fingerprints all over these things. And that really helps kind of give you a little bit of peace of mind, because then you can slide something in and not have to sort of finagle it, holding it by the edges. Because I will say that I have dropped filters before, and when you're a landscape photographer or even a cityscape photographer, dropping a filter onto the hard concrete, it will just crack, smash, and it's gone. So having this little tab gives you that little bit of peace of mind, but also it gives you something to really hold on to slide it in. Because again, these are very well built so that it is a firm, snug fit. Means that, like, if you're trying to hold something by the edges and you're trying to slide it in, there is a chance it could slip out of your hand or something. So I do love these tabs. Again, going to the color cast, I haven't noticed anything. What I have noticed is that the images are sharp, which is something of a concern when you are working with 10D filters, because it's so dark. There is a chance that the images could come back blurry with a weird purple cast. None of this is there from what I've seen. So that's what I really like about it. And again, going through the whole motions that I normally do with these filters, I have not found anything outside of that little thing with the polarizer that I can really comment on. It is a good overall set, and it's not going to break the bank. And I think that's the big thing that you should be taking away from this. If you can't afford a $200 square filter setup, you may want to look on Amazon for the 10-stop ND blue ice filter, which is something that I've used for many, many years. And it's only about, I think, $40, $37, somewhere around there. There's no real color cast that I could see, and it is a decent screw-on filter for whatever your purpose is. Like, don't go much cheaper than that, because you're risking getting just a cheap plastic filter that's going to have this weird purple cast, or any sort of crap that will ruin your shot. And trust me, there's nothing more infuriating when you are waiting for an epic sunrise, you're at the beach or somewhere at 5 a.m, you take this like 7-minute exposure, and all of a sudden you look at the result and it's a blurry pile of shit. So don't waste your money on anything cheaper. Either go with the blue ice or take a look at these K&F concept filters, because I can honestly say that from my testing, they are the best bang for your buck. Now, with regards to shipping to Korea, I ordered mine directly from their website. Outside of the production time, I found that they communicated very clearly. I think it took a couple of weeks to get here. No problems with customs. They arrived on time. I didn't need to show any customs code or anything. So that is something to keep in mind, because when we talk about ordering filters or any sort of high-end stuff, you may run into the problem of having to produce a customs code or something. I'm going to dive into that with some other products that I've ordered, specifically when we get into gear reviews where you can get stuff off of Amazon. But we'll talk about that at a later date. Now, going on, I just want to thank you for listening to this first gear podcast. And as we get on, I am going to make these a little bit more succinct and have more specifics for you. But as I said, I'm not one of those guys that lusts after gear or knows the exact, dimensions or calculations for image quality or anything like that. What I'm telling you is the stuff that I have that works, that you should get for these certain situations. With that being said, thank you very much, and we'll talk at you next time.